When most people think of scary horror monsters, they typically think of entities that are always hunting the player, and as soon as they're spotted, the chase begins. But that's not the case with the Big Daddies. And no, not the 1999 Adam Sandler movie, or what the internet has turned the word daddy into. The ones from BioShock. The Big Daddies were once humans that had their DNA spliced to the point where their bodies have merged with the large metal suits of armor they're wearing. It makes me wonder what they look like under there. If you remove the head of a Big Daddy, do you see the remains of a human head, or will it leave a meaty stump like they got decapitated? The Big Daddies mainly walk around the environment, protecting a little sister by their side. Even if one is facing you, they won't attack. They get defensive when a little sister is nearby, but they only seem to attack when you harm them or the girl they're protecting. But if you want that precious Adam, or the good ending of the game, you're going to need to take that risk. These guys are strong, fast, powerful, and are terrifying to deal with. But on the bright side, they can also infight with the Splicers. And in BioShock 2, you play as a Big Daddy, not just for a single section, for the entire game.
I don't know, something's in the room with us.
Jesus! Open fire! Open fire!
The main monster of the Dead Space series is the Necromorph. An outsider would call these space zombies, and they wouldn't necessarily be wrong. The Necromorphs were once human that were transformed into monsters that can only be killed by shooting their limbs off. Their bodies were forced to stretch and crack into horrible monstrosities by a genetic code transmitted by these markers. The Necromorphs go after everyone, including kids, infants, and animals, as seen through breeds such as the Lurkers. There are several types of Necromorphs in the series. Some include the Slasher, the Wheezer, the Feeder, the Infector, and God knows how many more. Despite what you might think, the Necromorphs' actions are organized, as they are controlled by the Brethren Moon, the source of the markers. These guys are literally moon-sized Necromorphs as they destroy and devour worlds. Many would agree that one of the creepiest monsters in the Resident Evil series is the Regenerador from Resident Evil 4. The Regeneradors are experiments created by Los Illuminados by inserting multiple parasites into a single human specimen. This causes the victim to be constantly mutating, resulting in the ability that they're named after. No matter how many bullets you fill them with, or how many limbs you blow off, they will simply rebuild themselves. The only way to truly defeat a Regenerador is to kill the primary parasites inside its body. The problem is, you can't see them without a biosensor scope. Sure, you can try to kill them without it, and you might succeed, but then you'd be betting your own survival with luck. To me, the breathing isn't the scariest on its own, but since it's coming from these guys, the noise becomes an alarm in your head that a Regenerador is nearby. In The Evil Within, you occasionally have to deal with monsters that can kill you in an instant, and are nearly completely immune to your weaponry, as they can only be killed in very specific ways, one of which includes the Keeper. The Keeper is a huge humanoid monster wearing an apron with a safe for a head. He wields a massive meat tenderizer, and of course, he's meant to appear like a butcher. And man, does he fit the bill. He leaves mines almost everywhere he goes, that once stepped on will wrap your leg in barbed wire. If you think one is terrifying, try dealing with two in an enclosed area. Much like Silent Hill, many of the monsters in this game have some form of symbolism they represent. In this case, his safe head reflects Ruvik's memory of the safe he stored much of his research in, and also his cruel acts of the past that he tries to keep to himself. Five Nights at Freddy's is filled with dozens of animatronics. Each game has at least one animatronic that takes the cake for putting players on edge the most. In the first game, it was Foxy. In the second, it was the Marionette. But in the third game, it was the only animatronic in the game, Springtrap. Despite being the only animatronic that can kill you in 3, he can be a pain to deal with, as he moves constantly as you're encouraged to control him with the voice of Balloon Boy. But it's very easy to lose him. His design is quite possibly one of the nastiest in the series, but it only gets worse. Springtrap is a spring body suit/animatronic that has a very important character's corpse inside it. William Afton, the guy who started it all. Back then, he was simply known as the Purple Guy. He would be responsible for murdering children with his bare hands, or the sister location animatronics he built specifically to do his dirty work. Trying to escape the possessed animatronics, he put on the Spring Bonnie suit, only for it to lock up while he was inside of it, crushing his body in the process. After FNAF 3, the establishment he was in burned down with him inside, as his remains were picked up and restored as scraptrap, only for that establishment to burn up as well. Then he became glitchtrap in Help Wanted, and finally burntrap in Security Breach. But a fan theory suggests that burntrap isn't actually William Afton, but instead a mimic acting as him.